Have you ever wondered if those creepy stories you read on the internet, the no-sleeps or the creepypastas, have some truth to them? If one, out of the dozens of stories you hear about circulating through the web, is actually true, how would you ever know? You wouldn't. This is why what I'm about to tell you will never be in those places. I need the truth to be heard. There are things in this world that none of us will ever be able to understand, contain, or control. Things science can't explain. It may not even be of this world at all. I live a relatively mundane life. Go to work, come home, watch something on YouTube, talk to a few people online, go to sleep, repeat. Some days it gets to me, some days it doesn't. The reason I'm telling you this is something I'm realizing as I'm typing. Because of this mundane, repetitive cycle, I find I'm more perceptive to bumps in the road than I normally would be otherwise. What I mean is, when something, even a small, obscure little thing, comes and pulls on the strings that hold my little life together, I notice it, and I sit with it, until it bothers me. A few days ago, I was feeling overworked, so I left my job early to get some rest. Since my uncle would still be working when I got home, I was alone in the house for a few hours. I decided to eat something, lay down, and take a nap to hopefully sleep off my achy body. The house always feels off when no one else is around. It's hard to sleep in there, knowing if anyone comes to break in, you are completely alone in defending you, your house, and your belongings from such an occurrence. But because of my condition at the time, sleep wasn't as hard as it normally is. When I awoke several hours later, I immediately had this strange feeling of something outside my window, which isn't too abnormal for me. I read a creepypasta years ago about something looking through a person's window, and it freaked me out for good. As I slowly woke up, I started to become aware of a really strange noise coming from somewhere outside my house. No idea how far away it was or what direction it was coming from, but there was definitely something. It sounded like someone sobbing, but muffled through a wall, and also mixed with music. Low, bassy, rumbly music. I got up and opened my curtain to the window above my bed and peered out. Nothing. The only evidence that there was anything happening outside at all was what looked to be a few flashlights being pointed in the woods across the street adjacent to my house. Let me give you a quick layout so you know what I'm dealing with. There's woods basically all around my house, not too deep, but just enough to be creepy at night. You can see the street through the other side if there's enough light. Where the flashlight seemed to be was behind my house, and across the street in the other set of woods. They were being pointed in rapid areas, like whoever was doing it was completely lost and trying to find their way out. Which was odd, considering the woods aren't that deep and they didn't even really look that far in. Whoever was holding them had to be at least 7 feet tall or holding them above their head, because they were way too high up to be anything else. I debated on going outside and seeing if I can help, but they were in a neighbor's yard, and everyone around here is packing, and I'm not about to get shot over someone who can't see the street directly in front of them, especially if they're holding 2 high-powered flashlights. So I closed the curtain and laid down again. My body was still feeling pretty run down, so I decided to go back to sleep for another hour or two. My efforts were useless, as about a half an hour go by, and I'm ripped out of my nap again. The sobbing and music were still the same, but they were much louder than before, like it was right outside my window. I sat up in my bed and grabbed the edge of the curtain, hesitating due to what I might find on the other side. I breathed in a big breath and pulled the curtain back. Whoever was out there was much closer now, in the patch of woods behind my house. Why would they leave the woods, cross the street, and then go into another patch of woods and start crying again? Thank God my window was closed. When I saw the person, I let out a huge, "Jesus Christ!" Due to the circumstances, I no longer think this person needs help. I think they're either on drugs or just batshit crazy. I watched them for what seemed like hours, just pacing back and forth through the same few feet of leaves and twigs, shining those damn lights in every direction possible. The noise was definitely coming from whoever it was. I sat there for a few more minutes, deciding on if I should open the window and call out to see if they needed help, when someone else must have had the same idea. My neighbor, who lived in the house behind me and about 20 feet away from the stranger, called out to them from their back porch. "Hey, you alright? You looking for something?" The person jolted quickly and pointed the flashlights directly at my neighbor, the low bassy tones of the noise getting louder and more distorted. "Shut this shit off, man. What's the matter with you?" My neighbor called out to the stranger. The person holding the flashlight stood inhumanly still for a solid 30 seconds, just staring and pointing the lights directly in my neighbor's face. It was at that moment I noticed something really strange about them. When my neighbor came outside, he turned his porch lights on to get a better look at what was going on, illuminating the stranger. I could see a rough outline of their body. Now, like I said before, the person was either really tall or holding the lights above their head due to the height. But it was neither. They were about 6 feet, skinny, and from the shape of them, completely naked. They didn't seem to be holding anything, yet the light still shone, but it didn't come from their hands. They were coming directly from their head. My neighbor must have realized this when I did, because he quickly backed away into the foyer of his porch and opened the sliding glass door to his home, not before the person, or creature, lunged forward and bounded towards his house. It moved incredibly fast, crossing the rest of the length of the woods and up the 13 steps to the top of the porch in seconds. My neighbor barely got his other leg through the door when the thing grabbed him by the back of his neck and smashed him against the side of the house repeatedly, tossing his body through the screen of the foyer to the driveway below. A little stream of light faded from my neighbor's corpse, and the thing loomed over the porch railing and inhaled. I don't know how else to explain it. The small stream of steamy light seeped from his body, and the thing seemed to just breathe it in. I screamed and stifled a sob. Me and my neighbor were extremely close friends, going to high school together and even making music on occasion. Seeing him die, and so violently right in front of me, will shake me for life. However long that may be. The thing seemed to have heard my cry, because it snapped its head to face me, finally revealing its face, for lack of a better word. Because of the glare of the lights on the window, it was hard to make it out, but I'm sure I couldn't see any discernible features on its head. It was completely smooth, all black, 2 big holes filled with bright light coming straight out of its skull. As a mouth, it had a thin white glowing line, occasionally moving into a sound wave form when it released the sounds of the sobbing and low-toned music. I quickly shut the curtain when I saw it jump down the steps. Hiding under my covers like a child, I waited and listened. Nothing. And then, Joe, you out here, man? My neighbor's brother. He came out to check on him. Oh no, no, I whispered to myself. I couldn't look. I couldn't peek out. I couldn't help. No one could stop something like that, especially not me. The screams and pounding on the inner walls of my neighbor's home only lasted a few minutes, before silence fell upon the streets again. And I prayed that it forgot about me. I can hear it sobbing again. The low rumble has become a distorted, loud mess of noise, and it's just outside my window. It sounds digitized, like it's being played through a radio. I know someone must have called the cops. I know I can't. If I make any noise, I'm sure it'll hear it and kill me. Someone will come. But how long will that take? How many people will go outside to see what's wrong? How many of them will die not knowing what I know? So I write this To all of you. This will be sent out immediately to everyone I know. And you must share it with everyone you know, in hopes that the word gets out to enough people. There is something wrong with this world. There are things in it that don't belong here, that only seek to steal your soul, straight from your body. I'm telling you all, if you see lights behind your house, if you hear sobbing coming from that direction, shut the blinds. Make sure your doors are locked. Shut off all your lights and stay quiet. They don't want your help. They only want your light.